So before we begin our program today, I just wanted to take the time out to thank one of our special partners for bringing this to life. So Tangela, thank you so much for all of your support, your grace, and making sure we had everything we needed to make this a successful event. So we just wanted to take the time. Come to the front, Tangela. Don't be shy now, because you are not shy. Why are you talking? We just wanted to thank you so much for answering all our questions and emails and being here after hours. So just thank you so much for everything, okay? So thank you. Oh, sweet. Thank you. And we are going to begin our session with an opening prayer from Miss Betty Stewart. So Miss Betty.
Good morning, everyone. Let's go to the Lord in prayer. Heavenly Father, we come to you today grateful, truly grateful for all that you have done for us and all that you will do for us. We thank you, Father, for the opportunity of being here today and to learn more about how to take care of our temples, not just for ourselves, but for our loved ones. Information is never given to you to keep it to yourself. You have to share it. We thank you, Father, for all that you have done, all that you will do, for your covering and your protection. In Jesus' name, thank you. Amen. Now I'll introduce you to Miss Amanda Sapp, who is our host for today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Grand Rising. Oh, y'all sleep already. It's still early in the morning. I know it's still early, but my spiritual coach, she's the co-founder of Bread of Life, Inc. She always starts off events, things that she's doing with a heart of gratefulness, and then also too commanding the room to how I want it to be. Is you would know something about that. You just prayed, you set the tone for us. But I'm gonna need y'all to stand up for me real quick if you don't mind. Please, I know y'all just got here, you just got in the room, but I want to call into this room what I know that you all are here to do, which is love on each other, be grateful for one another, glad that you're next to the person next to you. In fact, you want to share that with them right now. I'm glad that you're right here next to me. All right, I said next to you, not 3 seats down, not 4 seats down, next to you. All right. We're going to get enough of that throughout the day. But she likes to share, stay where you are. She likes to share with everyone how she wants to set the tone. And I have adopted that because I found that has kind of helped me center my life. And so what I'm doing here is I am putting my hands up. I know you got a small space. You put your hands up like this. And you're going to say, I am open and willing to receive and to give love. We're going to do it one more time together. I am open and willing to receive and to give love. And the reason we do that is because we got to fill our cup first, and then we can give it back. All right, we're going to fill our cup first, receive what the world has to give to us, the love everybody has to give to us, the welcoming everyone has to give to us, and then we give it back. One more time, I'm open and willing to receive and to give love. Please give yourselves a round of applause for taking time today to love on one another. All right, you can have a seat. Thank you. The first person I want to congratulate today, and let me see why they're giving this to you, madam, because I know they're just going to be giving stuff away all day. So if you're here today, if you brought folk, good for you, because you're going to win, potentially. If you came early today, you're going to win, potentially. So please, by all means, make sure that you do all the things you need to do to win today. But the first person I want to give this gift card to, her name is Charlene Hopes. Is she in the building with us right now? Where's Charlene Hopes? Y'all, don't be mad, be glad. Give her another round of applause. Charlene, come on up here. Charlene, where is she? You bring it to her. Charlene Hopes, she just won. What did she win for?
She won a $25 gift card for being the first person here.
Come on, Charlene. Guys, my name again is Amanda Sapp. I'm the VP of Media at Bread of Life, Inc., leading as General Manager of Amazing 102.5 FM. It's a community radio station licensed to cover inside of the 610 loop. So if you're in downtown, midtown, third ward, or fifth ward, you can get in your car and listen to us live. We have a variety of music, gospel, hip hop, Caribbean, jazz, and a variety of talk shows as well, like the one I have, the Amanda Sapp Morning Show, where we talk to thought leaders. We had Acclinate on with us the other day. Please give a round of applause to Acclinate, and Now Included. We also had a representative for the Multiple Myeloma Research Foundation. Give them a round of applause as well. Now listen, we didn't come all this way to just, look and dilly-dally. We came here to connect, to learn. At Bread of Life, we believe that health equity starts with access to information, early detection, and community support. That's why this Multiple Myeloma Community Connect event is so important. Multiple myeloma impacts the Black community at higher rates, yet awareness is still far too low. Today is about changing that by bringing education, empowerment, and connection to the people who need it most. When I say who needs to be connected, say I do. Who needs to be connected? I know that's right. We're going to get this thing started. Again, give yourselves a round of applause for being here today, on time today, excited today. I want to open up with some remarks. If I could, please bring up representatives from MMRF and Acclinates Now Included to come up for opening remarks. I want to bring up Ebony Scott and Dr. Ola. Please come to the stage. Give them a round of applause, y'all. Come on, you're excited that they're here today.
Good morning, everyone, for the third time. My name is Ebony Scott. I'm the Senior Director of Community Growth at Acclinate. We are a digital health company focused on empowering communities to take action to better their health. We are so honored and lucky to be here with all of you today in Houston at the KVC to talk about multiple myeloma and really connect with one another. So thank you so much for coming out on a Saturday morning. I know Beyonce is here, so a lot of people, getting ready for their concert, but we really appreciate you for taking the time to speak with us, to fellowship with us, and for us to learn together. I want to thank our partner at the MMRF, Multiple Myeloma Research Foundation, and I'm going to have Dr. Ola Banjo talk more about the organization.
Good morning, everyone. And thank you, Ebony, for that kind introduction. My name is Ola Banjo, and I am the Senior Director of Community Engagement and Partnerships at the Multiple Myeloma Research Foundation. So first of all, just like Ebony said, thank you for coming out on a beautiful Saturday morning. I probably was the only one that did not know Beyonce was in town, so I was wondering about the cowboy hat when I came in yesterday. But no, thank you for choosing us this morning. The MMRF is, so glad to be able to host this event in partnership with Acclinate. We are a patient-founded organization. We've been around for over 25 years, and our mission is to accelerate a cure for each and every single multiple myeloma patient. We always say that our work is not done until we find a cure for multiple myeloma. And one of the steps to doing that is making sure that we're empowering and educating our communities, our neighbors, our friends, our families, our loved ones about multiple myeloma and about connecting you with the right resources and care to better be able to serve your health and the health of your loved ones. So with the Multiple Myeloma Research Foundation, we've got lots of resources with our Patient Navigation Center. We are doing our nationwide tour with Acclinate on these community education events. But also more importantly, we're partnering with local resources. So here in Houston with MD Anderson, a lot of our partners also in the other room that are just making it possible because we want to make sure that everyone in the room knows that care is accessible and within your reach within your own city. So please have fun today, relax, ask questions. We're a family. So, there's going to be a Q&A. So if you've got any questions for our panelists, please ask. But we hope that you really leave here today empowered and excited about what you can do to further your health. Thank you all.
Okay, before we get started with the first panel discussion that is coming to the stage for you in just a little bit here, I just want two people to share with me why they came today. Just two. Two people that can tell me why they came today. You can stand up. I seen you in your hat when you first walked in. What's your name and why'd you come? You don't need my mic.
I don't.
I'm going to give it to you, okay? Who are you?
I am Takia Bevan-O'Daffin, and I am here in support of a multiple myeloma thriver.
All right. Thank you for being here today. One more person. I said, girl, with that outfit you got on, come in the middle. You deserve to come, if y'all could. I don't know, can they? Yes, you can. With that outfit, baby, you got to get front and center. This yellow, I see you.
Okay.
You look lovely. She said, no nonsense. Let me tell you why I came. What's your name, madam? Turn this way for him. Come here, come right here with me. Hold on, come on, sister.
Good morning, church family and friends. My name is Paulette Bingley. I'm a member at Windsor, and I went on a cruise in April. April the 5th, came back on the 12th, and I had just had a bone marrow. And then when I got back on the 12th, my daughter said, Mama, you need to get some medicine. I said, CBS, you got cancer. So on that Monday, I was at Memorial Hermann. So I started the journey that day. I did 42 days of treatment. Then I transferred to MD Anderson, because that's where I tried to go when I found out. But my insurance was impossible for me to do it. So I spoke with someone, they said, well, you need to get regular Medicare. Then you can go where you want. It took me a month to get that. And that's where I am, and I'm happy. And I'm having and it went away in those days. When I got the MD Anderson, I was 0.33 with leukemia in my body. And after that, I've been going there for treatments. And I'm having the SIMS transportation starting on July 18th. I'll be in the hospital for 30 days, as I said the same. And I hope to come home and recover totally.
You got a community. Come on. It's stories like that. It's stories like that why we're here today, right? I mean, it's tough to come up here and just even say the C word or what have you. So when you have people around you, you don't know what people are going through. That's why you got to be kind. You got to be kind. First, I want to start with this discussion. Beyond the diagnosis, navigating multiple myeloma with strength, support, and purpose. I'm going to bring up your moderator and also introduce the panelists that are going to come up to the stage. But y'all don't act like they just any old body, okay? When I say their name and finish their bio, by all means, give them a round of applause, okay? Don't make them feel crazy coming up here. Like y'all don't want to listen. You came here to listen and learn. The first person I want to bring up is Tiffany Richards. She has a PhD. Richards is an adult nurse practitioner at the University of Texas, Indiana. Hold on, we're not paying attention. I said after. Dang, I know they're excited, Tiffany. Me too. Stand right there for me, please. She is an adult nurse practitioner at the University of Texas MD Anderson Cancer Center in Houston. She received her master's degree in nursing from the University of Wisconsin in Madison and her PhD from Texas Women's University. Her primary research interests includes targeted and immunotherapy for people with multiple myeloma. She has given numerous presentations on multiple myeloma and has been published in journals, including the Clinical Journal of Oncology, Nursing, and Journal of the Advanced Practice Provider. Please give a round of applause to Tiffany Richards, PhD. All right, y'all messing with my flow. All right, we're gonna keep it going. You can have a seat, Tiffany. Thank you so much. Next person I want to bring up, he is a U.S. Navy veteran, a retired mechanist, and a multiple myeloma survivor diagnosed in 2019. He successfully underwent chemotherapy and a stem cell transplant. Now, in remission while continuing research studies at MD Anderson Cancer Center. He's married for 53 years. Mr. Rowe brings a wealth of life experience and resilience, sharing his story to journey to inspire and uplift others. Huey Rowe, please come to the stage. Y'all still clapping? Well, until he gets up here. Keep clapping until he gets up here. Please wave to your audience who's so glad to see you. Mr. Rowe, thank you. All right, y'all. The next person is a caregiver, support social work supervisor at the Department of Veterans Affairs with over 24 years of experience as a clinical social worker. She proudly serves as one of her father's caregivers throughout his multiple myeloma journey, balancing this role with her own family life. Her personal caregiving experience combined with her clinical background provides a unique perspective on supporting families impacted by serious illness. Please welcome Kanisha Milo, please. And the fourth person I would like to bring to the stage is a retired nurse consultant and a multiple myeloma survivor from Houston, Texas. Diagnosed in 2022, she achieved total remission following care, including a stem cell transplant. At MD Anderson, she's a proud member of Alpha Kappa Alpha and a founding member of Crossroads Community Church. She is dedicated to giving back through health initiatives and cherishes her supportive family. Please give a round of applause to Cheryl Solomon. And now I'm going to bring Ebony back to the stage. Y'all give Ebony a round of applause. She's doing everything she can.
Thank you so much, Amanda. Hello, everyone. Hello again. First, I want to thank you all for taking the time to be here and to share your story, whether it is lived or learned experience. We know the importance of storytelling, so just thank you so much for being here. Thank you. So, Tiffany, Dr. Richards, someone walks into your office and they have never heard multiple myeloma before. I know this is maybe a little challenging and difficult. In the simplest terms, can you please explain what multiple myeloma is?
Yeah, I think that's a great question because I find like in the community, throughout the country, like people think myeloma means melanoma and they're completely different things, right? And so myeloma is basically a cancer of the plasma cell. Your plasma cells are kind of like special enforcers within your bone marrow. They produce proteins that attach on to either viruses or bacteria, and they tag them, that protein tags them for recognition by your other immune cells so that your immune system can get rid of it. So this is the system that our vaccines work on. So you get a protein that looks like the flu virus. The plasma cells start to produce a protein that's going to immediately recognize the flu virus. And then when you're actually exposed to the flu, those proteins attach on to that virus and tag it for recognition, and it gets rid of it, so you never get sick from the flu. So when plasma cells become cancerous, they continue to produce these proteins, and so they can build up in the blood, and we call that a monoclonal protein because they're all the same type of protein. But they also can cause bone destruction. We can see a drop in the red blood cells because the bone marrow doesn't have enough room for those to grow. We can also see kidney failure because of it, because these proteins can kind of clog up the kidney, kind of like, you have a faucet, right, that the water goes through, and if you get a little bit of hair in it, right, like the water doesn't flow through those pipes as well, right? And so when that happens in the kidneys, we can see kidney failure. So we can see that creatinine level begin to rise. And then also because we're seeing destruction of the bones, we can see an elevated calcium level. And so that's kind of myeloma in a nutshell.
Thank you for explaining that. Thank you. So I'm going to turn my question now to you first, Mr. Huey, and as well, Ms. Cheryl. Can you talk about your path to diagnosis? So what were some of the symptoms you were experiencing? How did you know something wasn't right and you needed to go to your doctor to figure out what was happening? So I'll start with you, Mr. Huey.
Excuse me. For me, I began to have pain in the lower back, in the side. Never been to the hospital before. I'd never been sick. I thought maybe it was a muscle pull or something. But it kept getting worse. And at the summer of 2019, I really began to get tired when I did things, which I'd never had a problem with that before. Never had a problem with, doctor never said anything. Monday, monthly, every 3 months, I went to the doctor, had blood work done, never had a problem. And as time went on, the pain got worse. Couldn't figure out what was going on because I'd never been sick before. I got diagnosed with the oncologist in Beaumont, Texas. He said that you need to take a lower back, get a sample from the bone. And I went back the following week for the results. He told me I had multiple myeloma. Had never heard of it. And he just came out and said, hey, you have multiple myeloma, you stage 3, you have the highest number I've ever seen. So it's like I got hit by a sledgehammer. Terrible. And just, but he said it was treatable. And so then I began to smile, started feeling a little better. Yeah. He used diabetes as an example as far as being treatable. So after that, I began to feel much better, much better. Went in for the I guess you'd say for the treatment cycle they were going to do over there. Wasn't really satisfied. So me and my daughter, we decided on MD Anderson. And for me, that was a blessing. God's really been with me on this journey. Believe me, it's not multiple myeloma stuff, but it is treatable. And I've had people, a lot of support from my family, And it happened at a bad time with COVID. That was terrible, But hey, God's been riding with me the whole time.
I just want to thank you so much, Mr. Huey, for sharing your story and the strength and the courage it takes to talk about it. I think sometimes when we have these conversations and we talk about things like this, we don't realize the pain that people are going through, and it takes a lot of strength to advocate and share this education with everyone. So I just want to thank you so much for sharing your story with us today and for you still being here.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And Ms. Cheryl, can you talk a little bit about your experience and your path to diagnosis?
Good morning. In 2011, my mother had a mild stroke. My sister and I took care of her for approximately 7 months to ensure that she received the best care. At the end of the 7th month, my mother dismissed my sister and I. At that time, it told us to go home to take care of our family and our husbands. I developed a urinary tract infection as a result of taking care of my mother, who at that time was the most important thing in the world to ensure that she was better. As we all know, as women and caretakers, a lot of times we take care of everybody else, and we don't do a good job of taking care of ourselves. I was very dehydrated. I had a urinary tract infection. And when I came back to Houston, I sought the care of my primary care doctor. And at that time, found that there was a trace of protein that I was spilling in my urine. At that time, 2012, up until 2021, periodically, the same thing would happen and it would clear up. I saw 2 different oncologists here in Houston, and one of them did say to me, after 2 years of following up with lab work and 24-hour urine analysis, that there was no reason that he could detect that there was treatment that was needed. But he did talk about a stem cell transplant. He talked about a lot of things that at that time just kind of went over my head, especially when he said, at this point, there's no treatment that's recommended. So I went along, and after COVID, when we were all doing virtual audiences with our primary care doctor, I was able to go in to see her. And at that time, again, there was a large amount of protein that Miss Tiffany talked about that was spilling. And she said to me, well, that happens sometimes when you get older. I don't think of myself as old. I think of myself as being seasoned with a lot of experience. And so at that point, I went back to the oncologist, and at that point, he said to me when he finally came into the room after we had done some blood work and a 24-hour urine, that there were two things. He said, do you want the good news or the bad news? And I said, well, let's do the good news first. And he said, I did have multiple myeloma, and the good thing was that it was treatable. That's all I needed to hear. At that point, a dear friend who works at Anderson, I had not shared my diagnosis with her, but the Lord always has an angel, or like the ram in the bush that's waiting. And so she insisted that I see her oncologist at Anderson. And I shared with her, but I have a doctor. And she said, but I want you to see my doctor. The doors were open for me to go to MD Anderson. And I shared this morning with the young lady sitting to my left. I said, when I go to Anderson, I feel a sense of peace. I had 6 rounds of chemo, and at that point, it was the chemo took care of what it needed to take care of. And at the first treatment of chemo, with my mask on, I said to the Lord, if this medicine is supposed to take care of these cancer cells, then let's do it, because I know that you have work for me to do. And God has answered my prayers, because here I am today. I did have a stem cell transplant. I was my own donor. And my children were able to see as the frozen cells that had been taken out of my body and stored in time for me to receive the new stem cells that my body produced. I actually could see them going through the tubing. I said to the nurse, I said, what are those little things? She said, those are your stem cells. And I thought, oh, how good God is that he allowed me to make new stem cells and then to give them back to me. And so I have been in total remission since last year, and I am thankful.
I just want to highlight.
Oh, and let me say this. My mother will be 97 in December.
I just want to highlight what we have heard from Ms. Cheryl and Mr. Huey, the importance of second, third, fourth opinions. You know, a lot of times, sometimes when we go to the doctor, we take what they say for face value the first time, but when you know something's wrong with your body, no one can tell you differently. So it is extremely important for you to seek out that care and continuously advocate for yourself, and this is what we're hearing.
Can I add to what you just said? I think it's really important to be looking at your labs and paying attention to them and asking for a copy of your labs. And if there's something that's abnormal, to ask your provider, hey, why is this? Does this need to be investigated? And to ask those questions. Because at the end of the day, you're your own advocate and it's your body and those are your labs and you have a right to understand what those labs are showing. And the other thing I would add is we know that African Americans, their time from onset of symptom to diagnosis is longer than in white people, right? And so you have to be your advocate and question the physician or the nurse practitioner or the PA or whoever is going over those labs with you, because you deserve a quick diagnosis and there's really no excuse for somebody to have abnormal labs and for that just to be monitored and for that not to be investigated.
Exactly. And then for you to be told it's because you're older. That makes no sense at all, So thank you both for that. So Kanisha, as a daughter, seeing your father navigate these challenges, how has it been for you as a caregiver, trying to be supportive for your father, but then also dealing with your feelings and navigating this healthcare journey?
So I want to start out by saying I'm representing my dad, not the VA. Just a little disclaimer. With that being said, I grew up with my mom and my father in my home, two-parent home. Parents been married over 50 years. My father is my superhero. He's the strongest man I've ever met in my life. If y'all see tears, this is tears of joy because we really and truly are blessed. So when I got the phone call, and mind you, my parents are so supportive. My mom, who I cannot take anything away from, she's definitely the caregiver too. I'm just representing the family. So my father allowed my mom to come to my home and take care of my child. I had a little one when we found out diagnosis. She was 10 months. And my parents didn't want her to go to daycare because they wanted her to at least have a year in the home without going to a daycare. So Dad was taking care of himself, and he's used to those home-cooked meals that my mom was providing, but he stayed at home, and she came to Houston to take care of my baby. And so when he called us to tell us that he's been going to the doctors, because we could tell something was wrong when we would meet at Buc-ee's for him to pick her up over the weekend, we knew something was going on. And so when he called and said, I have some bad news, he was like, I was diagnosed with multiple myeloma cancer. And at that point, I felt a sense of guilt because the first thing I said was if he was in Port Arthur and Mom would have been watching him and seeing him daily, then she would have probably realized this quicker. I knew something was wrong. So I felt that initial sense of guilt. But at the same time, I said, okay, it's time to fight. We quickly got my little one in daycare within a couple of days. And my dad had an appointment at a facility in Beaumont, the cancer hospital there. And so I drove from Houston to Port Arthur really quick to go to that appointment. And I listened. And at that appointment, some of the treatments that I had heard about, they weren't aligned with some of the friends that I had talked to that had multiple myeloma and had been through the diagnosis or was a caregiver. So I looked at my dad and he looked at me and went to church that Sunday, talked to a couple of people, and they said, Kanisha, it's time for you to fight. I said, I'm ready. And they said, but not in Port Arthur, not in Beaumont. You need to fight in Houston. I said, let's go. So Mom and Dad packed up. My sisters stayed back in Port Arthur together. My parents packed up and they moved to Houston. And at that time, it was game time. And so me and my husband and my little one was at a photo shoot, and we saw a lady with a T-shirt on that said MD Anderson. And I tell you, closed mouths don't get fed. Talk to people, ask questions. That's how you will figure out what's going on. This lady that we talked to, her name was Miss Phyllis. I'll never forget her. She's been a blessing and definitely a testimony in our journey. She told us, I walked straight up to her. My husband was like, go talk to her. I said, I am. I said, hey, you work at MD Anderson? She said, yes, I do. And I said, okay, my father was just diagnosed with multiple myeloma. We just got an appointment, and she said, wait, what? I said, yes, ma'am. She said, I work on the 6th floor at MD Anderson in the multiple myeloma department. And I said, Thank you, God. And so I was like, okay. And so then she said, from this day forward, call me cuz. I said, hey, cuz. And she said, I'm going to make sure that y'all get what y'all need, and your dad will be okay. So we're in the middle of a photo shoot, makeup messed up, all tears crying. I'm a crier, but it's okay. And so she was able to assist us with providing information. Mind you, I heard multiple myeloma before, but my supervisor at my job, her husband was diagnosed with myeloma, but I didn't dig into it at that point because it was prior to. You know, when you start hearing stuff or when it happens to you, that's when you really and truly want to know, and you start remembering. Not only was her husband diagnosed, but her daughter was too. And so then I was like, okay. And then I remembered one of my best friends' mom was diagnosed with multiple myeloma. I was in college, so I wasn't really, into it and asking questions. And she had been around. She's still good, and it's 18 years. So I said, if they can fight, we can fight. Let's go. And so we started our journey through MD Anderson, and so grateful that we didn't just stop at home. Not saying that the treatment in Beaumont wasn't going to be great, but God knew what we needed to be. And when we went to MD Anderson, like she said, there's a sense of peace, and everyone was family, and it's a big beast to navigate, but through questions and through people, we were going to make it successfully through MD Anderson. And when Dad told me that he was diagnosed, I knew for sure. I said, this is not our end. This is not the end of my dad's life. I don't care how bad these doctors are saying it is, how high his numbers were. It was the highest that one of the doctors had ever talked about or haven't seen. I was like, this is not our end. This is not the end of our story. Dad is going to see our little one grow up. And we're here today with this blessing and this testimony. It is a wonderful opportunity to sit next to my father because, like I said before, he's my superhero and he's my Superman. And so just to hear his story and hear him share it and us relive it again is just definitely a blessing.
I try not to cry. I just think it's amazing the relationship you have, and that, you got the news, but you were like, okay, it's time to fight. My dad comes first in his knees, so it's really a blessing that you have your family and y'all are together.
And I just want to add, it was not easy. I mean, living in Spring, driving to MD Anderson multiple times a day, that was not an easy process. Having a little one, it wasn't easy. Still carrying a full-time job. But utilizing my support systems from friends, family, my church, has definitely been an integral part in this journey.
Thank you. So this question is for both Ms. Cheryl and Mr. Hu. What is the single most important thing that you can share that has kept you going? That thing that okay, I'm not going to give up. I have this diagnosis, but I know I need to fight. So what would you say for those who may have been recently diagnosed or are living with multiple myeloma to keep you moving forward? And I'll start with you, Ms. Cheryl.
I would say the single most important thing for me is my faith. As I said earlier, when I was receiving my first dose of chemo, I asked God to allow me to live so that I could be a blessing to others. And that's my prayer daily, is that I'm a blessing to others. Also, my family, we initially, when I was diagnosed, had a family meeting, and everybody had a role to play in that family meeting. We needed to find home health services for me once I had the stem cell transplant. I needed someone to come in to care for me. I needed my sister. I have one sister, and her job was to, once she was at the doctor with me, and I always had a second person there, a family member, so that if it was something that I missed, they could reiterate and say, no, that's not what the doctor said. My sister took excellent notes, and we had a list of people that she would send those notes to, so that it kept me from being on the telephone repeating the same thing over and over. And so that helped as well. The family support, my church. And I must say today, my heart is overwhelmed because I have an audience of friends, students that I worked with that were very young, and just everyone here today. So that family support, and that's the single one thing that has enabled me to get this journey going and to be able to be here today. Yes, to share my story. Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Cheryl. And Mr. Huey?
Okay, the number one thing for me has been my family, the immediate family. They've really been here for me. They wore masks during the COVID outbreak to protect me, my family, outside family, friends, my church family. Everybody, the cards I received encouraging me to keep going, to not stop, don't let myeloma beat you. And I guess you could say just overall, not wanting to give up. Keep fighting, no matter how bad the pain was, just keep going. I listen at a lot of spiritual songs, like one said, don't give up. The other was lean on the Lord. And with this, I've been able to push myself. And one thing, taking the medication that's been prescribed. I can't just focus strictly on myeloma killing you. There's other things, heart disease, high blood pressure, strokes. You never know. So you have to just be aware of everything. You know your body better than anybody else. I've been on chemo since 2019. Every month, 6, 7, 8 blood transfusions. It's been a rough journey. But like I said, support from people and friends, can't beat it. It will keep you going. You know, that's been my strongest support. Friends and family. Thank you all.
Thank you. So Tiffany, what advice would you give to someone who has been recently diagnosed? I think we heard Ms. Cheryl said, you know, the importance of having someone with you taking notes, because a lot of times when you're at the doctor, a lot of information is coming at you and you can't really digest everything. You're trying to understand what is happening, you know? So I think that was a really good point to make. But what additional advice would you give?
I would say definitely getting a second opinion at an academic center. We know that patients who receive care at academic centers have better outcomes than those patients who are out in the community. So I say that would be the biggest thing. I would also say to kind of formulate some questions that you have. You know, and, you know, I know a lot of times, like, you know, clinics are busy and you may not feel like you can get all of your questions answered, but I would say like highlight 2 or 3 of like your main questions, right? So that you ask those first, so that in case, you know, your provider can't get to the rest of them, at least your main questions have been answered, and then you can address the other ones at subsequent visits. I would also say to form, you know, your care team. You know, and get a care team around you, because there's going to be days that you may not feel like doing anything and you may need somebody to help you go to the store. There's various ways that your care team can help you, even if they can just pray for you, right? That's huge, right? You may have people that can't do tasks for you, but they can be praying for you and they can be reaching out to you. And so that care team is so, so important. And having a team is better than relying on one person, because if it's just one person, that person can get burnt out. They start putting their needs on the back burner, right? And then you've got 2 people that are going to end up needing care because the caregiver is burnt out from it, right? And then for those who are caregivers, it's super, super important that you're still taking care of yourself. Because a lot of times caregivers kind of put their needs on the back burner and they focus on the patient, but that's not going to be good for either of you. So that's why I say like having a team involved is so, so important. And for those who maybe aren't married or don't have significant others, like again, that team of people is huge. I know my cousin was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. She was single and she's got her care team and she calls them her angels, right? And so having a group like that is so, so important. And then lastly, I would say to advocate for yourself. And making sure that you're asking the questions that need to be answered, asking about clinical trials, like, and when they approach you of clinical trial, asking like, how is this going to be better for me than if I just do, you know, a standard of care regimen? And so that you feel comfortable with what is being, with the information that's being provided to you. And you have the right to ask those questions, right? Like that is your right to say like, hey, like if I'm going to participate in the trial, like why am I doing this as opposed to doing something else? And those questions are okay to ask, and that's your right to ask those questions.
Thank you, Tiffany. So that we have time for Q&A, because I'm sure there are questions and people want to ask, you know, our panelists. Ms. Cheryl, Kanisha, Mr. Huey, if you, at a high level, what are the main takeaways you would want people to leave away from today? What is the biggest piece of advice you can give? I'll start with you, Mr. Huey.
For me, the number one would be whatever medications that are prescribed for you, take them. Don't miss. I had I guess you could say a senior moment. Checked medicine that I thought I had, called Valtrex. It prevents shingles. I didn't have it. Like I said, I had a senior moment. And I came down with shingles. It lasted 5 to 6 weeks. Believe me, I will never, ever make that mistake again. But that would be one of the things you really need to do. Take your medication. I have to thank my wife. I call her a food pusher because she's constantly pushing food on me. But very healthy meals. And I really thank her for that. But so I'm trying to keep my weight within 4 or 5 pounds, up and down, and do some exercise. Got a little bike, I sit down, exercise, try to keep my body strong, and just be thankful every day I wake up.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, you're next.
I would say it's okay to accept help. A lot of times, I'm the strong one in the family. I'm like, I got it, I can do all things. And even though I think I can, as a caregiver, you need to accept help. I had to accept help from my coworkers. I couldn't do everything. They're like, Kanisha, I got you. You've covered me. Let me do this for you. And I had to learn to say, okay. I had to learn to say thank you and yes, because if you try to do everything like Dr. Tiffany or Miss Tiffany said, you will burn out. And burnout is real. And 4 types of caregivers, I always say, either you're a caregiver now, you will be a caregiver, you have been a caregiver, or you will need one. Never think that, we walk around and you never know what's going to happen daily. I never thought that my father would have multiple myeloma cancer, just because he's never been sick. And so accept the help, utilize support systems that you have. And I would say, to me, one of the most important takeaways is utilize the strength of the person that is going through. To see my father grow through, and still every single day we're in MD Anderson, he's getting blood transfusions, he's, thank you, I'm okay, I'm doing well. He never complained. And to see that was strength for me. And so I gained strength from him, because I'm like, if daddy not complaining, I'm not about to complain. I got this, let's go. And 2, I would say, be kind to others. It is free to say good morning. It's free to say good night. That's what for children learn when they're born. Hi and bye. Say that, it doesn't hurt anything. And that's the things that will get you far. My father has had a journey, and it was very difficult when we had to drop him off after COVID to the door at MD Anderson, because we never missed a cancer treatment. We never missed chemo. We were always at every one. When COVID hit, they said, okay, drop him at the door, and we would sit in the parking lot for 8 and 10 hours and wait because we wouldn't leave. But being that we established relationships with others, and we had cuz at MD Anderson, I knew Dad was in good hands. So when we dropped him off, it was that sense of peace because they told me, Kenesha, Dad is going to be okay. We got him. And so we would just wait for a phone call to say it's time to get him. But I knew that because he was such a great father and such a great man, that we wouldn't have any issues and he would be okay when I was not able to sit there with him. And so be kind to others, and it's okay to accept help.
Just to piggyback on what she said, my first appointment at MD Anderson when I went to the myeloma clinic on the 6th floor, I heard someone say, Sister Solomon. And I thought, now who is that? But it was Miss Phyllis. Miss Phyllis used to be a member of our church. And she remembered me. She was one of the greeters at my church. And she too promised that Miss Solomon, Sister Solomon, we're going to take care of you. Don't worry about anything. And so I just wanted to let you know that Miss Phyllis, has really been a wonderful, she's no longer in the clinic anymore and has moved to another area. But to answer the question, the single most important thing is, like the gentleman said, take your medicine, okay, on time. And as a nurse, I had to set an example for my husband in my home and for others at my church that we've often talked about their medication. You have to take it. You have to, if there are problems with it, you have to let your practitioners know. The other thing is, I consider MD Anderson going, and I now go once a month because I do a 24-hour urine and labs. It's like a field trip. I get all gussied up, and there I go to MD Anderson, and I do feel a sense of peace because since almost 3 years ago, my journey has been wonderful. I've incurred some ups and downs, but not one day did I ever not think positive. I tend and I try to be a very positive person. At least that's what my friends tell me. And I do. I knew that I was going to be okay. And that here I am, as I said again today, being a blessing prayerfully to this audience. Each day there's a passage of scripture in Psalms 34, and it says, I will praise the Lord no matter what. And that is what I do each and every day, is say that passage of scripture beside many others. And I try to share those things with friends that I meet, my neighbors in my neighborhood, who are part of the civic club. I've shared my experiences with them. And let your doctor know. You can not necessarily reward them, but Tiffany is part of my team at MD Anderson. And so our doctor says, well, have you and Tiffany had enough time together? We laugh, we talk, we share. And it just makes life knowing that you have a care team that cares about your well-being. And so that's what's important, besides my family. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you. So we're going to open it up for a few questions. They're going to come up to you with the microphone. Happens to me all the time.
I'd just like to reiterate what the, sure. I'd just like to reiterate, I know we're not here, we're here, I'm here also as an advocate for MD Anderson. I have a lot of cousins at MD Anderson as well. When I went to MD Anderson, first of all, I knew who MD Anderson was because I worked in the healthcare field. And people come from all over the world to come to MD Anderson. And I'm a native Houstonian. And for me to be able to get in, and everybody can't get into MD Anderson. But once I got to MD Anderson, I just finished treatment for breast cancer. And I wanted to come here because I wanted to learn more, and I'm going to also volunteer. And I want to share that the American Cancer Society has a lot of resources of which I've tapped into. They have housing for people that are going to come out of town. They also have ways to get their rides as well. Transportation, exactly, yeah, transportation, if you call the number. I stayed at what's called the Hope Foundation when I was taking my radiation because family, friends, church members are a blessing. And I had all of those things. When at the Hope Foundation, you have to go through it through your healthcare provider. And so I did that, and I was thinking that I had to be 300 miles away, but the American Cancer Society say, whosoever will, they will take you. You know, your social worker have to call them and on your behalf, and they will put you on a calendar for whenever you think that you're gonna come. And me, I had to have blood transfusions also, so that made my chemo be delayed, okay? And the other thing I want to say is stay positive and surround yourself with positive people only, right? Sometimes you have to leave people behind if they're not positive because they will bring you down. And you don't want, I've never been a negative person, never surround myself with negative people, never will. And the other thing is, as a patient, you have to accept help, right? Sometimes we say, oh, we don't need it, or we don't want it, or you just never had to. But as she say, you're either going to be a caregiver, you're going to need care, you're going to do it for somebody, you know, so. And then those people that say that they will, and sometimes it doesn't align with your schedule, but I had a calendar, and I put everybody that said that they would. I say I had 16, 18 rounds of chemo, 1, 2, 3, 4, every week. And so when I was doing radiation, that's every day, right? So I said, well, I'm gonna go stay downtown somewhere at one of those long-term care, right? But then that's when I found out about the Hope Foundation. And I was able to stay with my caregiver, who was my sister. We fought every day, but we made it. And they have transportation from Hope Foundation, which is off of OST, which is not far from most Houstonians, you know where that is, and Ardmore. So we would go there, and we stayed there. At the Hope Foundation, they provide, it's like a hotel room. You bring your own food, and they have like 3 kitchens. Each kitchen has everything in your kitchen that you have, and they give you space for freezer, they give you space for refrigerator, and they give you space for your regular food, right, like a little pantry. It was a blessing for me. So me and my sister, so we went, because when you have to go to radiation every day, I mean, some people can take themselves. I lost 42 pounds because I was so weak. So I couldn't take myself, but I had a lot of help. So just stay positive, and I'm praying, and stay prayerful. I just told the Lord, if you get me up, because I was bedbound for a while, I said, if you get me up from here, just enough strength, right? I will do, I always was one that did for myself. But it's going to be a time when you cannot. So just accept it. I'm very accepting, right? I was like, okay, I can't do this, Lord. It's me and you, because a lot of times I was laying there by myself, and I had sister coming in. I just told her to just stay there just so that I could take a shower, so that I'd have somebody in the house. And my son, my friend Stephanie here, she came. I mean, just accept the help. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We have time for about 2 more questions. I see gentleman right over there.
Hello, how are you all? I'm David Jones. I'm here for my friend D. Eric Dillon, PJ Brown. So basically, first off, for the caregivers, I like to give kudos to the spouses of the caregivers. I think they have to be strong also. I know that from experience as well. So kudos to the husband, the wives, the friends of the caregivers. So also too, I'm wondering, is this similar to leukemia or lymphoma? But I heard Mr. Huey say that he started having pain, and I heard my friend say he having pain. So this is not a blood thing?
That's a great question. So leukemia is a cancer of a different cell. It's called a neutrophil. And there also can be leukemia of a different white blood cell. But leukemia and myeloma are a little bit different, but they're both blood cancers. The reason why myeloma, Mr. Huey had back pain is because when the myeloma cells are growing, it causes disturbances in cells that build bone and cells that destroy bone. And so you have cells that then, the cells that destroy bone get super activated. And so they're just destroying and destroying and destroying. So that those can cause destruction in the bones that can also cause fractures. And so that's why in myeloma we see bone disease, is because of this. These cells get off kilter. Whereas in leukemia, generally speaking, you wouldn't see bone lesions. I mean, you can, but it's usually not as common. And so it's just a different blood cell.
Okay, and one more quick one. And as far as the stages, do that make a big difference? I heard stage 1, I heard stage 3, heard the stage 1. Does it as far as I had a friend of mine had stage 4 lung cancer after a month. He wasn't here, but does that make a difference in myeloma?
So that's a great question. So in myeloma, we do have 3 different stages, but really what helps us to identify patients that have a more aggressive disease are abnormalities of their chromosomes. So certain chromosomes tell us that maybe the myeloma is going to be a little bit more aggressive. So while we use the stages, it doesn't necessarily guide our treatment like in solid tumors. So like in breast cancer or lung cancer, if you have stage 1, you're treated this way. If you have stage 4, you're treated this way. We don't really use stages in myeloma for that. But we do use the chromosome abnormalities to help us guide. And it's the chromosomes within the myeloma cell. It's not like your genetic makeup chromosome. So I always like to differentiate that because I think it can be a little bit confusing when we're talking about chromosomes. So it's the chromosomes within the myeloma cells that we're specifically looking at.
And is this a black thing or white thing or male, female?
Yeah, so it's more common in people of African descent than in Caucasians. We also know that Hispanic and Black patients are diagnosed at an earlier age compared to Caucasians. And so we do see it in, all ethnicities, but in Black patients, it is more common. So it occurs more commonly among Black patients than it does really any of the other ethnicities.
Thank you. So for the essence of time, we're going to take a quick break, come back at 12 o'clock to start the second panel. Our panelists, they will be here. So please feel free to ask any questions. I'm sure there's a lot more that we want to talk about. So please feel free, bathroom, come back here at 12 o'clock on the dot, and we'll begin our next session.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Could I say one thing?
Yes. Oh.
I noticed I have one grandchild, Kinley. She's the only child here today. I was born December 13th, 1945, on a Thursday. Kinley was born December 13th, 2018, on a Thursday also. So that gives me strength.
Thank you so much. We'll be back at 12 o'clock.
Our next winner. I know y'all hear me. When you hear winner, your ears should perk up. Somebody's hoping to win. Our next gift card winner, I'm about to announce, so I need you guys paying attention. Our next gift card winner, if you are Paulette Bingley, please come to the front. Paulette Bingley. Is Paulette Bingley here? Where's she at? Raise your hand, Paulette. Oh, that's the lady in the yellow. Oh, wow. Great. All right, Paulette. Paulette is a winner today. She came here as a winner. Hello. Can we give Paulette a round of applause? I knew it, Paulette. I knew it. They want to take one picture with you, Paulette. Look right there. Look, Paulette, stand right here. She wants to take a picture real quick. That's so great. Maybe I need to come back down there. You know what I'm saying? My spirit is already good. All right, if you're still open and willing to receive and to give love, I need you to repeat it after me. I'm open and willing to receive and to give love. One more time, I'm open and willing to receive and to give love. I'm not sure if I mentioned to you guys at Bread of Life, Inc., we are a nonprofit that provides household items, food, and supplies to families. We have a distribution every first and third Saturday of the month. And during those distributions, you can receive those products. It's about $150 worth of products in the box. You can check out our website at www.breadoflifeinc.org to find out more. Bread of Life Inc. was founded by Pastors Rudy and Juanita Rasmus. Can we please give them a round of applause? They are staples in the city of Houston. And so we want to keep this event going. If you're still excited about being at the MMRF Multiple Myeloma Community Connect event, please make some noise in here. You all have been hearing some empowering stories, some amazing stories from people that have been in the room. I would go around and pass my mic, but I just need one person to tell me one thing that they have learned that they didn't know before they came. Just one person. You can stand up where you are. One thing that you learned that you didn't know before you came. I see one person way in the back. All right, we got one person who's learning something today. Thank you for sharing that with us, madam. Give her a round of applause, y'all. It's not easy to talk in front of a group of people, and especially more so than to tell people what you have learned from where you are. Madam, I know you learned something today. Is there something that you learned? Right, you with the tan shirt on and the black pants.
I know you panelists.
I've
learned that this is a great community.
Yeah. Yes, love that. Give her a round of applause. A panelist here. All right, we're going to keep rolling, keep this event going. Right now, our next segment is entitled Access and Advancement, Exploring Multiple Myeloma Resources and Research in Houston. That's what we came here to do today. So as I mentioned to you guys before, when I mention the next person that's coming up, after I introduce them, I need you guys to give them a round of applause. The first panelist I want to bring up, she is an associate professor in the Department of Lymphoma Myeloma at MD Anderson Cancer Center. She is a clinical investigator specializing in multiple myeloma, leading multi-center and cooperative group clinical trials for innovative therapies. She also collaborates with lab scientists focusing on biomarkers like MRD and immune profiling for clinical application. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a round of applause to Christine Yeh, MD. The next person I want to bring up to the stage, she is a nurse practitioner specializing in plasma cell dichrasis within the Department of Lymphoma Myeloma at MD Anderson Cancer Center. She received her master's degree from UT Health Houston SITS School of Nursing. As a research APP, she is dedicated to advancing patient care and research, successfully managing numerous clinical studies for novel therapies. Please welcome Amy Barker to the stage. The next person I want to bring up to the stage, she is a retired Chief Operating Officer of the Veterans Affairs Healthcare System and a resilient multiple myeloma survivor from Pearland, Texas. First diagnosed in 2017, she achieved a very good remission after a 2023 relapse. She enrolled in a clinical study at Houston Methodist Hospital, where she is now in complete remission, crediting her deep faith and the steadfast support of her husband, family, and friends. Please welcome Deborah Johnson to the stage. This next person is a U.S. Navy military veteran and a multiple myeloma survivor. Originally from Raleigh, North Carolina, he now resides in Houston, Texas, where he was diagnosed with the condition in 2019. He actively shares his journey, inspiring others with his resilience and commitment to living well with multiple myeloma. Please welcome Danny Massenberg to the stage. The next person I want to bring up, he's an independent engineering consultant in the oil and gas sector and a multiple myeloma survivor from Katy, Texas. Diagnosed in 2022 after an initial misdiagnosis, he began an 8-cycle immunotherapy clinical trial at MD Anderson in 2024, followed by a stem cell mobilization study. Having completed treatment in May 2025, he is preparing for stem cell replacement, supported by his large, loving family and the MD Anderson team. Please welcome Eric Dillon to the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome all of these panelists to the stage. I'm going to bring Ebony back to the front. Oh, Dr. Ola to the front. Please, everyone, give a round of applause to Dr. Ola. She is going to be moderating this discussion.
Thank you, Amanda, and thank you to our wonderful panelists for joining us. So we had a very full first session. I'm looking forward to this next conversation as well. Just a quick housekeeping announcement. As we're listening to our panelists, I know everyone has been given a post-event survey. Go ahead and fill that out. I know our volunteers are going around the room collecting them, but we're going to also give our attention to our panelists. So thank you all again for joining us. And we're just going to jump right in. So to our myeloma thrivers, Danny, Deborah, and Eric, if you could just, give us, tell us about your experience receiving your multiple myeloma diagnosis, and also just any specific challenges that you might have faced within the healthcare system.
Okay. Oh, okay. I was devastated when I first was diagnosed. My mother had multiple myeloma. She was diagnosed back in 1998, and it is a scary feeling, and she passed. She did not even make it 1 year. So when I was diagnosed, it was very strange. My hip, I had pain in my right hip. So I went to my primary care physician, and by the time I saw her, she said, well, we're going to refer you to an orthopedic to see what's going on. I was referred to an orthopedic. Went there, they did the x-rays and all. Oh, they just said it's arthritis, they thought. Just take Tylenol, add leave or whatever. But my primary care physician, she said, oh, it's about time for your checkup. And so what she did is she ran blood tests. Well, when she got the results of my blood test, there was something that she said. She said, oh, I'm going to refer you to a hematologist, oncologist. And I said, you think I have cancer? Oh, she said, oh, we're just going to make sure. I said, oh, because my mother had it. And so it was a very, very shocking news. So when I went, I saw the physician, a hematologist, oncologist at Houston Methodist. And when he first saw me, he told me, he said, Deborah, I'm pretty sure you have multiple myeloma, because he had reviewed my record. It was strange, I had pneumonia back in January, and I had gone to my physician, it was like in May. So they ran the test, did bone marrow biopsy and several tests, and he called and he said, Deborah, you do have multiple myeloma. Well, I broke down. My husband was with me, who has been very supportive and loving through every step of the way. So the physician had me there, and I was crying, and he was so compassionate. He hugged me, gave me Kleenex and everything else. He said, oh, Deborah, there's so much, new technology now. It's different than when your mother passed, and you're going to be here another 20 or 30 years. And sure enough, he did. And what was so touching is that my first time that I got my infusion or my treatment, my physician came to the infusion center and hugged me and said, you're going to be okay. And that was so touching. And I said, I'm going to make it. I said, I'm going into remission. And I felt that. I started in August, and in November, I went into remission. And they said it was very good remission. And so that was, when it first started. He said, well, we're going to be very aggressive, and then the stem cell transplant. Well, after he told me all about the stem cell transplant, it's scary. I was scared. So I elected at the time. I said, oh, I'm in very good remission. We'll see. Well, I went on maintenance, and I was in remission up until 2023, from 2017 to 2023. I had a relapse. It started coming back slowly. And so that's when we decided that I'm now in a clinical trial study at Houston Methodist. Oh, and to add, I'm in complete, they say stringent complete remission now. And so I did that. I started in September, and by the first of the 2024, I went into complete remission. Stringent.
Wonderful. Thank you, Deborah. And Danny, what do you tell us?
I got diagnosed in 2019, like everybody else. It was pretty scary and devastating because I had no idea that I had it. I did notice that I was like losing weight, but at the time I was trying to lose weight, so I thought it was a good thing. So I'm in the military, so I was doing my yearly physical with the VA, and then that's when they were saying that they found something in my blood, like this lady said, that was abnormal. So they still didn't know for like 2 years. I went on, they didn't know what it was. Then after 2 years, they gave me a biopsy, and then that's when they realized what it was. But yeah, it was very devastating, but I wasn't in any pain. I just lost weight. But then as time went on, I did start having lapses when I would feel like really tired. But other than that, that was fine. So after getting diagnosed, they put me on a regimen. I was taking Revlimid. It was just like a medication for cancer. And it did okay for a while. But first of all, I did do the stem cell transplant where I used your own blood and whatnot. And that went good. That put me in remission for a year and 8 months. And then it came back. And I was living in North Carolina at the time, and I was already planning to move either to Houston or Florida. But when I found out I had multiple myeloma at the time, and I heard about MD Anderson, I was doing my research because when I was in North Carolina, I was going to Duke University, Hospital, which is a well-known hospital as well, but the more research I found out MD Anderson is like one of the best places you can be. So I figured if I was going to have any chance, I was going to move to Houston. So I took a leap of faith, because faith is a big thing for me, like a lot of the people have said before, that keeps you going. So I decided, me and my family, we would move to Houston. And we moved here. And as soon as we got here, it started coming back. And I was like, oh, man. But I was like, I know God didn't move me all the way out here and put this in my heart to do this to let me down. So after a while, my doctor said, well, look, we got this clinical trial drug we can put you on, or we can just try this other regimen. And I was like, well, I'm going to try the clinical trial drug. So I got on the clinical trial drug, and I've been in remission for 2.5 years now. So I'm a big advocate for clinical trial drugs. So.
Thank you, Danny. And Eric?
Alrighty. Hello, everybody. I guess I'm the baby of the bunch up here, because I found out about mine last May 24th, May 2004. In 2022, I had gone fishing with a friend of mine who I'd messed with and went out and actually fell and injured my shoulder. And I said, man, I tore my rotator's cuff. So I go to the doctor. We check it out. He said everything was fine, no structural damage, everything was good on it. 2 years later, I'm doing some yard work around the house in April, and I pull on a rock, hurt the shoulder again. I said, man, something is wrong. So I'm going to go back to the doctor again. This time I go back, and he does a MRI, doesn't see something that he likes. He said, there's something going on here, so I'm going to send you to another doctor for a second opinion, and it'll be an orthopedic oncologist. And I was like, okay, no problem. So I go to the orthopedic oncologist. We sit down, we start talking, and she looks at it. And she says, do you know why you're here? I said, yeah, doctor wanted me to come over for a second opinion. And she said, you know what kind of doctor I am? I said, yeah, you orthopedic oncologist. She said, you know what oncology is? And I'm like, nah, not really. She said, cancer doctor. You may have cancer in your shoulder. I was like, huh? Cancer? She said, yeah, we got to do a couple of tests. So she did the test, and she come back, and she said, yeah, looks like you may have multiple myeloma. And we said, okay. And she says, okay, well, let me set up some times, some other visits for you. I said, okay. We walk out the office. My wife immediately starts to get on the phone and starts calling MD Anderson. She said, hey, we here. We in Houston. We're going to go to MD Anderson if we got cancer. And I was like, okay, let's do that. I called a cousin of mine who I knew who had multiple myeloma himself. And as I was talking to him, he had started his journey back in 2002 with multiple myeloma. And he is still going strong today. He told me what his doctor told him when he went to MD Anderson. His doctor told him, he said, hey, go pray to whoever your God is. Go down, sit downstairs in the lobby at MD Anderson about 15 minutes, and then come back. And he said, when you come back, you will see that what you have is nowhere near what's going on inside this hospital. Because as you walk around MD Anderson, and anybody who's been there, there are people that you know they have some issues. But a lot of us that you see coming up here with multiple myeloma, you don't see anything wrong with us. And so I took that in the heart, and I was like, okay, let's do this. And like I said, he's been with it now about 25 years, and everything has gone well for him. I entered the trial program. I went in, and they said, hey, do you want to do a trial, or do you want to go standard of care? I was like, let's do the trial. And my thought process on doing the trial was that the program would give me an opportunity to have more people looking at what I had. You have the trial team plus your standard care team, plus doing more blood work, plus doing more tests, and more things to keep an eye on it. And come to find out, there was a friend of mine back in my hometown who I had grown up with from elementary school. Went to college, we roommated for 2 years out there. And come to find out, I found out in May, he found out in July that he had multiple myeloma. And so we both were fighting through this at the same time. He went through a standard trial back in Mississippi. I went through the normal trial here where the trial team here finished my trial in May. Everything was going fine. My numbers were good. And then I told him, I said, my shoulder still has a little problem because I still have the rotator's cuff. So let's look at that before we move on and do some bone strengthener. We decided to do that. They took another MRI. They came back and said, that was on a Thursday. That Friday they did the MRI. That Wednesday I was going to meet with a trial team to move into the next phase of the trial. for the process. And as I go and show up there, they said, hey, we're going to have to take you out the trial because the radiologist looks at your MRI and there appears to be some active myeloma still in your shoulder. But none of my documentation had shown that. I had done the CT, I had done the bone marrow, I had done the smear, I had done a biopsy. All of that came back to be at zeros. Everything was looking normal, so it was looking like I was positive to go forward with the maintenance. But long story short on that, we're still trying to get some more information on my shoulder. I've done a interradial CT where they go in and take a bone marrow specimen using the CT to guide the needle in to do that. We did that. We're waiting on test results and another full body MRI. So from that, we'll find out what the next phase is as we move forward. It's either a plasma or something else that's going on in that shoulder, but find out if it's still active or not. But all my numbers were showing zero. But it was a blessing that I even fell and hurt my shoulder, and a blessing that my shoulder's still hurting. So I have been in good spirits and feel good about it. My support team, my family, my friends. I got friends that showed up here that I sent this out to just for information, friends that are online viewing. And I want to thank everybody because this has been truly a blessing, not to receive the multiple myeloma, but to receive the love from the family and friends for it. Thank you.
Well, and thank you all for sharing your journey with us. I think it's always interesting to hear how folks come about their diagnosis, and just to let our audience know as well, it's not one size fits all, right? You've got to pay attention to all the signs and symptoms that are out there. So my next question is for you, Dr. Yee. How is Houston uniquely positioned to provide care for myeloma patients?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for this opportunity to sit here and have this conversation with our myeloma community and a myeloma family. Maybe we can check out, I know like our panelists are myeloma patients, many of them getting treatment at MD Anderson, and this is wonderful to know that. How many patients are getting treatment, or family members of the patient getting treatment at MD Anderson sitting there? Quite a few, and because thank you, because we actually would say like we benefit from Houston. We have TMC, Texas Medical Center, right? We have so many medical facilities, hospitals, medical centers in Houston. So we are very well positioned, having a lot of medical resource. MD Anderson certainly is one of the leading hospitals in cancer, and our myeloma team, you heard from our wonderful Tiffany, like from the last session, about the myeloma care that we provide to patients. But right now, MD Anderson is not just providing the care, but also the clinical research and also basic research. And another wonderful panelist, Amy, she is a clinical research manager for multiple myeloma. So we have a pipeline of the myeloma clinical trials, and it's so wonderful to hear from our panelists that you are interested in also participating in clinical trials. Oftentimes we have myths in patients and also family members. Sometimes they would feel, I don't want to be that guinea pig to be on a clinical trial. But actually, clinical trial offers a lot of benefits for patients. In addition to what I have already mentioned, we have different types of clinical trials. Clinical trials, mainly we have, starting from like a preclinical phase, we usually call this phase 0, and then you have phase 1, 2, 3, even 4 as the post-marketing research. So those are all at different stages for different patients at a different stage of their disease. You heard newly diagnosed, you heard early relapse, and you heard like a late relapse. So there are different types of clinical trials for different patient populations. So that actually give you the access to the most advanced either agents like novel agents or different combinations or different settings for different disease. Some of the drugs approved for late relapse and now move to early relapse or even newly diagnosed. So those are the benefits that actually you can benefit from clinical trials. So in addition to the routine standard of care, clinical research. We also have a basic research. So MD Anderson, we have translational research, try to look for the biomarkers, because oftentimes like we have those wonderful drugs approved by FDA, but we're not quite sure yet as physicians or like our advanced practice providers. We try to figure out what is the best patient population for this type of drug. What is the best patient population to use this drug at what stage? So that's why like biomarkers are very important for us, and we try to figure out all those translational research. So by saying that, I feel like there are a lot more that we can talk about. Probably like an hour is not enough. But we truly have a lot to offer, but not just MD Anderson. I know Methodist, they have excellent care because I have some of the colleagues working over there, and we actually work together. We actually have a journal club. It's like a Texas-wide. We work with colleagues from Methodist, from UTSW, from myeloma doctors from Austin, and San Antonio. We try to work together as like a team to study myeloma and the new researchers, new cases, challenging cases to care for our myeloma patients. I don't know how many patients or family members coming from outside of Houston. Anybody from outside of Houston? Or maybe this is more local event. Oh, we have somebody there. Oh, yeah, we have like a few, more and more hands up. So yeah, so that's why we want to care for patients not just from Houston, but also outside of Houston, so that we can make this standard of care research more accessible to more patients.
Well, that's great information. Thank you. And, you know, and I think it's important. We projected something up on the screen as well, and we've heard this recurrently from even the panel before, just, you know, the right track, so selecting the right team, the right treatments, and the right tests. And we've heard that theme over and over just with our panelists. So, Ms. Deborah, though, I do want to kind of turn it over to you, following up on what Dr. Yee mentioned about clinical trials. I know that your journey has included participation in clinical research. So what was going through your mind the first time when you had to consider it?
What does this entail? Well, once they found out that I was in relapse, and my initial oncologist said, what about a clinical trial? And I said, okay. He said, let me have the myeloma expert at Houston Methodist come and talk to you. So he came down and talked to him and explained everything. And they gave me this thick package, it's about 50 pages, telling you about the study. And if you read it and you listen to them, it is kind of scary, because you hear what the side effects are or what can happen and things like that. But I was interested because I said, I want to find out what is the cure for multiple myeloma, and also what caused multiple myeloma, because my mother had it, and out of 4 children, I'm the one that ended up with multiple myeloma. And so I took the package home, and like I said, God is something else. There was a friend who recommended another person who does research with multiple myeloma, and she came over and she spent numerous hours with me going page by page of that big, thick package explaining what's what. I said, okay, I'm going to do it because I want to help somebody, or somebody, it can help me. And I think that's my purpose. God put me here for a purpose. I'm still living at my age. And so I said, I want to try it. So we went into it, and they said, okay, there's 3 arms to this particular clinical trial. One, and people here, when you say clinical trial, well, one of the treatments may be they don't even, have any type of treatment. It's a placebo or whatever. That's not true. In this particular study, I can tell you that's not true. There were 3 different arms. They all dealt with multiple myeloma. I did get, and they do it random. Well, first of all, I had to go through and see if I qualified. So I had to go through all those different tests and whatever. So I did get selected. The arm I was selected for was the investigative study. one of the drugs. Well, behold, a few weeks before I started the program, the trial drug became approved by the Food and Drug Administration. And I said, boy, God, you asked, because I was questioning, should I try it or not? So I went into the program. I had to go into the hospital because it was a trial study, and it was a trial drug. I had to go in the hospital for 7 days, and they monitored me those 7 days. And I tell you, they want to see if it impacted me mentally. So they would ask me all the different shifts. Where are you? Where are you? What date it is? I had to write my name. And so they would check all the different shifts, just kept monitoring to see, if there was any changes. They wanted to see if it impacted my mobility or nerves. They checked everything out in those 7 days. Well, of course, when I started, I was on hypertension medication, and this particular time, it dropped my blood pressure. So they had to take me off my blood pressure medicine. And so with that, and so then I was going every week for the infusion. And after that, like I said, I started in September, and as I said before, I went in to start going into remission before the end of the year. And by the first of the year, they did the bone marrow biopsy and all, and they said, you are in stringent complete remission. That was in 24, where I went, and as of today, I'm still in stringent complete remission. This particular clinical trial, the New York Times just put an article out. It's saying that a third of the patients who are on this clinical trial have gone into remission. And you're talking about 800 and something people who've gone through this trial. And it's a 5-year program. At least this trial so far is 5 years. But you're talking about a third of the patients have gone into remission with this particular trial. I strongly encourage, because people of color tend not to want to try trials, clinical trial research. If we don't do it, we can't help the future, nor can we help ourselves. So please, I tell anyone, take the trial. I tell you, it's well worth it. And like I said, God works in mysterious ways. Things happen, because if you know anything about multiple myeloma, they'll tell you your time span is not that long. I bypassed that time frame. So please, I tell anyone, please do the trial. It's well worth it, and it will save your life and people in the future.
No, thank you so much, Ms. Deborah. And that is a perfect lead into my question for you, Amy, which is, how do you approach conversations about clinical trials with patients? I think Ms. Deborah said something that was key, which was nobody's on a placebo. Everybody's receiving treatment. That's the one thing that we always try to impress on others, that you will receive treatment. But I would love to hear from you how you approach those conversations.
Yeah, thank you all for being on the trial. It's very important. I enjoy what I do. I think clinical trials are very important. But when I first approach this conversation with patients, I make sure they are at a spot where they can have open dialogue. I do not want them driving home from clinic on 45, just got maybe some bad news that they're relapsing. So, setting the tone, I need them to have enough time, because like you said, it's a lot to go through. They need enough time. I want them to have open conversation with me. Do they need a pen and paper? Do we need to phone in a support system so someone else can hear this information? Because I am about to throw a lot of information at the patient. And once that's been established, I really walk the patients through the trial, what it's going to look like, starting with the informed consent, what that looks like, the screening tests that are going to occur, when they are expected to start the clinical trial, how long it will last, and also the time commitment, because there is a little bit of time commitment involved. So this is a very lengthy conversation that I have with my patients. And then at the end of the conversation, I always make sure I give my phone number to the cell phone number to call, text me. In a day or two, once you digest this, you're gonna have a lot of questions. And so I give my phone number because I want to build a relationship with the patients. I want them to trust me. So.
No, thank you. I think that's.
I want to say the trust, and when you're in a clinical trial, You talking about the personal attention that you received in a clinical trial. I have my doctor's phone number as well as the research nurse phone number. I'm talking about personal, not the office number. And they will tell you to call them anytime, day or night. And when I first started the clinical trial, the research nurse was calling me at night, on weekends, and just checking it. Are you okay? Any side effects or whatever? So I'm telling you, you're talking about one-on-one personal care. You definitely would get it in a clinical trial.
Yeah, I think like it's wonderful to hear from research nurse perspective and also patient's perspective. Maybe I can give like our patients and family members a tip. If you're approached by your doctors about a clinical trial, I think like a lot of unknowns, right? You're newly diagnosed or you are a relapse patient. You got the news from the doctor and you try to explore like what is the, what my life would be, what kind of treatment I'll get, what my work, my family, everybody, right? So a lot going on and go through your mind. What your doctor's thinking process is try to find the best treatment option for you. So when they offer those clinical trials to you, they usually would present one is the standard of care and the other trial options. Usually it could be one trial or maybe more than one trial. So for you, it's hard for you to absorb all the information, as like Amy mentioned. Probably it's a good idea for you to bring a friend or a family member who can help you to take some notes for you, ask some of the questions. And it's always a good idea to think about, to compare with the standard of care, whether or not this clinical trial can give me a good outcome and also a good, manageable schedule for yourself. Usually, the trials are supposed to offer better outcome or less side effects compared with the standard of care. That's why we have all those trials offered for patients. So those are the things that you may want to pay attention to. A lot of times for some of the patients, it's more logistics, whether or not that can be acceptable for your lifestyle or your philosophy of getting treatment. Sometimes IV versus oral, sometimes schedules. Sounds like Debbie was getting a bispecific T-cell engager from what you described. So that if your doctor is offering this versus a CAR-T trial, those are very different schedules for treatment, and the commitment will be different. So those are the logistics that you would think about. And another thing is a lot of clinics would offer some of the social support. Don't hesitate to ask for these resources, because I know our patients for lifelong, you've been supporting your family for different people, from your kids, grandkids, or even parents, right? You've been a caregiver. Now you're sick. But you're not used to getting help from other people. But at this time, I always encourage my patients, don't hesitate to reach out. We have social workers, we have case managers. Try to utilize those resources. And also for a lot of trials, we try to advocate for our patients. We try to get resource for you as well, like transportation or the other things. So don't hesitate to ask about these questions. And then try to make it work for you. And a lot of times, clinical trials is not just helping the other people, it's helping yourself. Because any standard of care regimen you're getting today, it was a trial from like a month ago or a year ago, right? So that's how you can benefit from those.
No, thank you. And
Yeah, I wanted to say one thing on the trial. So I was in a trial process, and in that process, it came time to do the stem cell harvesting. And they asked me if I wanted to be in a trial for that. And I said, yeah, we can go ahead and do that. And so what they did is they gave me a couple of drugs prior to that to help motivate, stimulate the stem cell portion to get my stem cells harvested. And I had something scheduled on a Wednesday that I really wanted to do, that I had to do. As I said, I'm an independent contractor, so When you get jobs to work on as an independent contractor, that's the only time you get paid. So I really needed to get there and be that. And so we were harvesting on that Monday, and I said, well, I really need to be out of here by that Tuesday so I can do this thing on Wednesday. We went in and they said, well, we don't know. We're going to give you this motivation to move the movement for your stem cells. And I went in, and my white blood cell count, when I got them tested that morning, were around 80, off the chart. And they got ready to do the work, and it was like, don't know if we can do this stem cell because we've never seen numbers this high coming in. And they finally talked themselves into doing it, and about a quarter to halfway through it, they looked and they said, I think you're going to make your goal. You're not going to have to come back. It's only going to be a one-day harvesting. And so we finished it up. The next day, they wanted to do like 4,400 units to do your stem cell harvesting, and I had to come back the next day to find out anyway. And my numbers were about 5,000, well over what they needed to do that stem cell harvesting. So it was a one-day stem cell harvesting based on the trial for the motivation drug that they gave me for the movement of my stem cells. So that allowed me to continue to do what I needed to do on Wednesday and take that thing out my neck that I was going around with for about 4 days. But the stem cell movement, the trial, while I was on a trial, helped me to do that. So please do that. Take a trial if you can get into it, especially in multiple myeloma, being that it affects the African American community, and there's not a lot of patients that's going because we don't know. And that's the biggest thing, and the one thing I wanted to find out is to know how you have it when you go to your normal doctor to pick it up. Because like I said, mine was a total blessing from a shoulder, but there's other things that have to come out, and you don't want to get to the point to where you have kidney problems and other body functions that's going on to know that you have multiple myeloma. And that's the one thing we want to try to get out to everybody.
No, and thank you for sharing your story. I think you're absolutely right. There's so much that can be learned about it. And Danny, I would love to hear about your experience with clinical trial as well. So,
okay. My clinical trial, I was kind of like the lady said, I was reluctant because my mother had a bone marrow disease, and she took the clinical trial drug when they couldn't do nothing else, and she only lasted like a month, so I was kind of reluctant. But this was probably 20 years ago, so I realized that technology has came a long way since then. So when I was presented with the opportunity, I said, well, let me think about it, let me pray about it, because it was like still in the back of my mind what happened to my mother. So I was like, I don't know if I want to be a guinea pig, and I don't like to use the word guinea pig, but it's kind of like what I felt like. So I decided to take it, and like Amy, she was my nurse practitioner, and she was really good. Like she said, she gave me her number, she called me, checked on me. If my blood pressure went up, or if I felt anything, I would call her. I could call her any time of night. Sometimes I would call her probably the weirdest times, but you got to do what you have to do. But taking the clinical trial, I would suggest everybody do it, because it gives you a chance to live, and it can help other people in the future. So when I took it, I didn't have the best results. I was supposed to initially take it twice a month, every 2 weeks. I took it the first time, it put me in the hospital for like 2 weeks. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do that. I was in excruciating pain. I was praying to Jesus and everything I could come up with, because I never felt like that before. But the doctor told me, after I went back to him after the checkup, I was like, man, I don't know if I want to do this again. Because I was in the hospital for 2 weeks. I was in pain. And he was like, well, I think the pain that you was feeling was the medication working on killing all the cancer cells in you. So I was like, okay. He said, well, just try it one more time. And if it don't work then, if you have any problems, you don't want to do it any further, I understand. I said, man, I don't know. So I said, I might have to pray about it and talk about it, think about it. So I ended up initially doing it, went back and done it again, and it put me back in the hospital again. This time I was in there for 3 weeks, and I was like, man, what have I got myself into? But they kept saying, well, the cancer is gone. Okay, so I'm like, okay, thank God for that. But the downside was it shut my kidneys completely down. So for 6 months, I was on dialysis. And that was like the worst thing to me, even worse than cancer, because I like to travel. Me and my wife like to go places and see the world. And when you're on dialysis, you can't do those things. I mean, you got to go there 3 days a week. You're there for 4 hours. It's like a job, basically. And Amy knows. I was tell her, I was like, hey, man, I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep doing this. But the doctors was like saying, you know, it's a chance to come back. It may not come back as quickly as I would like, because, you know, we want to get over things as soon as possible. So he said it's going to be a process. So they put me on a drug called Solaris, which is supposed just to help my kidney function. But so to make a long story short, I was going to dialysis, and I was like, excuse me, nurse, I need a container because I need to urinate. And all the other patients in there looking at me like, they haven't urinated in like 20 years or 10 years. And I'm in there, I'm like, I need a cup. You know what I'm saying? She was like, I got to go now. And it was like, okay. So that what happened. I was like happy. So I was like, when I got out of it, I went home, I called my wife. I was like, I urinated today. I was like a little kid. I couldn't believe it. But it had been 6 months. You know what I mean? So I was like, thank God for that. So to make a long story short, I started urinating a little bit more every day, a little bit more. And then they took me off and dialysis. Said, we're going to do a trial, off the dialysis for a trial, like to see how your body does. So they took me off, and I've been doing fine. I've been slowly getting better and better. I started back traveling. In fact, I just got back from Santorini, Greece last week. In fact, I wasn't sure about doing this. But, I mean, with all that said, I still have to get injections for my kidneys function, but it's back to where it's like at 50% to where it was. From where I was from now, I'm like really thankful to God, because I was in a room with people on dialysis hadn't ever urinated in like over 20 years, and they was looking at me like they could not believe what was going on. So with that being said, even though all the things I went through, I still would do it again, because it's been 2.5 years and I haven't been on any kind of chemo drug, anything to do with no type of cancer treatment. And I try not to tell people, but sometimes just out in the public, somebody talk to me and I want to tell them, because it's like I feel like it's a story to tell. Because when I was in the hospital, they had priests, they sent in 2 priests telling me that get my orders in the fair, that I wasn't going to probably make it. They told me my heart was swollen. I'm like, I was looking at them like, me? I'm like, I feel fine. They put me on the oxygen. I'm like, but I can breathe. And I'm like, why are you putting me on oxygen? Then they put me in intensive care. I was like, okay, this is really serious. And I was like, they was like, well, you just in here for observation. I'm like, they don't send people in intensive care for no observation. So, but, you know, eventually I got through that, you know, and I was kind of irritable, upset sometimes. I would call Amy and tell her everything I was going through. But Amy was really kind, and she always never hesitated to help me or check on me. I'm not even going to the doctor for cancer right now anymore. And Amy still sometimes call and check on me, and I'll call and just say hello. But like I said, if you get a chance to take a clinical trial, please do so, because they told me I wouldn't live past 5 years, and it's been like 7 now. So I just say it's all up to God, and if you believe, my faith, like a lot of other people say, their faith is what gets them through this. So I encourage you, if you have faith, believe that all things are possible through God. And if you can get a chance to try a clinical trial, please do so.
No, thank you all for sharing your stories. I think something that definitely resonates is, you know, that I'm hearing from the 3 of you is how much research you asked questions, right? You did your research, you had a friend come over and go through the informed consent with you. You talked to your care team about the side effects that you were having. So there's a lot of back and forth that went on there, and that is something that I think that we can all take away from this experience, is not to necessarily run scared from anything, but to seek more information. And then just very quickly to close out our panel, I'm going to ask Amy and Dr. Yee, how can trusted resources and data from organizations like the MMRF help patients to make these informed decisions?
No, I think this information on MMRF is amazing. It helps patients, family, friends cut through all the noise. There's a lot of noise at all times being thrown at you, and even if you're doing your own research on the internet, so that you know MMRF is reputable, and it's easy to read and easy to digest, and it can make you feel more confident. So when you do go to a clinic, you can ask questions, be more involved in your own health care, and like Tiffany said earlier, be your own advocate.
Yeah, I totally agree with Amy. MMRF is an organization that you can trust as a reliable source of information for multiple myeloma. I've been working with MMRF for almost a decade since I was working at the University of Michigan as a myeloma specialist before I moved to MD Anderson. So you can find a lot of like webinars that we do to educate patients. Like for example, Debbie was talking about bispecifics that she was getting the treatment. And you would find a lot of T-cell engagers that now we have not just like targeting BCMA, we are also having targeting GPRC5D. Those are the things like a lot of like new terminologies. When you heard from your doctor, sometimes you have no idea like, oh my goodness, this is a mouthful word for me. It sounds Greek to you, right? So what I encourage my patients, get information from the clinic, regardless if it's clinical research or it's a standard of care. And then MMRF has a lot of information that you can either read about it or you can look at those webinars like with videotapes that you can just watch those and learn about it. The more you participate in this type of educational events, the more you learn about it. Knowledge is power. This is always like my patients, when they come to my clinic, the very first encounter, I actually use the bed sheet in the clinical room to draw like those, like what is disease about, bone marrow, peripheral blood, organ involvement, and let them know what we are testing for, what the meaning is for each test. And then if I recommend this drug, why I recommend this regimen versus the clinical trial. I have comparisons for them so that they can have an idea. Now, it's not enough. So when you go home, you go to a website for MMRF and you can learn more. So only if you understand what is involved in your care, then that can help you to make informed decision. Most of the times, your doctors are not making the decisions. We give you the recommendations and help you to make informed decision. So that's why you need to learn about these things. And the MMRF has a lot of resource. And also the other resource I provided to my patients from MMRF website, they have nurse hotlines that can sometimes help you to answer some of the questions. They can also help you to localize the centers who actually have multiple myeloma specialists. Many patients are very mobile. You move from one city to the other. Sometimes you want to find where are the other places I can find a myeloma specialist. So those are all the information that you can actually find from MMRF website. So, and also, clinical trial information. I oftentimes got emails or contacted by MMRF asking, hey, I have a patient coming to MD Anderson or Houston. Can you help this patient who's like looking for this particular trial? So I think like our patients are very savvy about knowledge, technologies, and also like myeloma resource. So if you can utilize those information from MMRF website, they truly can provide a lot of information for you to facilitate the care and also to empower you with knowledge.
We'll end with Deborah.
I would just like to say MMRF is excellent. That was a resource that my doctor told me to read about and to look. And also, they didn't ask me to give this plug in, but I make a donation annually to MMRF because they have been excellent in providing information, and it's reliable and good information.
No, we thank you for that.
They do. I can.
So thank you, Deborah. Thank you, Dr. Yu. Thank you, Amy, Eric, and Danny as well. We appreciate you stepping into our panel today and just for the wealth of information that you've provided. Thank you to our earlier panelists as well. Unfortunately, we have enjoyed our conversation so much that we unfortunately don't have time for a Q&A. However, I'm hoping that you're going to be around for a little bit just in case anyone has questions for you. We are serving lunch, so lunch will be served. If you haven't already, please go ahead and fill out the post survey that was handed out. Again, another round of applause for our
Moderator, please take one photo, please, together, standing. And then I want to announce these gift cards that we're going to give away. I have 2 left to give away. And then I want to make sure everyone has turned in their post surveys. They're giving out bags in the back in the Community Connect room. So please, they are picking these surveys up. Please, 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 please make sure you have completely filled them out so you can get a bag in the next room over, which is in the Community Connect room. Are we still open and willing to receive and to give love? Oh, yeah. All right, good. Can anyone tell me what the name of my website is to find out more about what we do? I know you know. I know you know.
breadoflife.org.
breadoflifeinc.org. That is correct. I do not have a gift for you, but I have a smile. All right, thank you very much. Let me get the person that has won this gift card. It's a $25 gift card. Drum roll, please. I know y'all know how to do a drum roll. Gladys Bailey, you just won $25. Where are you, Gladys? Gladys, where are you? That's my mom's name. I know you're special. Gladys Bailey. If they're not here, what happens? Or maybe it's to the next person that can answer a question about this event. What is multiple myeloma? The first person to answer gets this gift card. This lady's raising her hand. All right, you just won a $25 gift card. That's all you had to do. All right, the next one is for $100, and this person has already won. So please, drum roll, please. Drum roll, please. Are we drum rolling? Because if it's y'all gonna be patting your legs. Paulette Bingley. Where are you, Paulette? Dang, Paulette. Golly. Look, man, hey, what do I do, madam? What do I do, Ebony? Come on down, Paulette. Paulette, come on. Come on. Let me tell y'all something. Paulette came to the front, gave a testimony, sat through the sessions, enjoyed me. You know what I'm saying? And you won. Come on, man. God is good all the time. Where the pictures at when you need them?
You do the right thing, got his eyes on you. That's the only thing I say.
All right, I want to bring Ebony and Dr. Ola back to the stage. And also thank you to all of you that have been here today. We really appreciate everyone for their time and presence and all of that. Ebony, please.
Give it up for Amanda. Thank you so much for keeping the energy, interacting with the crowd. We appreciate you, so thank you. So before we end, I just want to take the time out to thank everyone for coming here today. Like I said, I know sometimes having these conversations can be tough, but we persevered. I think we got a lot of gems from the panelists, so just thank you. Before we end, I definitely wanted to acknowledge Miss Betty for Windsor Village. So I first met Miss Betty a few months ago where we partnered on a COVID-19 effort. And I knew from the start we were going to be partners moving forward regardless of where I was at. So I just want to thank you so much for really rallying the community and everyone and making this so successful. So thank you so much, Miss Betty.
Thank you. And then,
well, no, I don't think I have much else to add except to say thank you all for coming out, spending your Saturday with us. Please take a look at the resources that we have in the other room. Talk to some of our vendors. If you're looking for any information on multiple myeloma, please know that the MMRF is here to support you. Feel free to mingle with our panelists. But again, thank you so much for your time, Ms. Betty. We thank you for opening up your space to us. It was wonderful. And, we couldn't have asked for more. Thank you all.